I really hate how dark this is, but I feel like we're gonna be all right. Okay, peace and greetings, everyone. Peace and greetings. It's been so long since I've been on YouTube Live. I'm almost like, where do I start? How do I pop this off? But I already know what to do. I was born for this. So, today we're talking about that small voice. All right. And if this is the first time that you're tuning in with me, I am Goddess Queen Jamila. I am a holistic healer, spiritual guide, and life coach. I have 15 years of experience with Black women, helping us to break a lot of invisible rules, expectations, structures, paradigms, a lot of shackles. That's what I help Black women to. I don't really work with women of other races. It's just not my calling. And one of the most asinine questions I get asked is, why don't you work with men? Like, do you ask baseball coaches why they don't work with kickball people? Do you ask basketball people why they don't work with football people? Like, people have their own specialty. There are boys basketball coaches, and no one says, why don't you work with girls? Like, everybody has their lane. I like to get in my lane and stay in my lane. So, speaking of my lane and the lane that we're in, it's February 2026. And we're preparing for Valentine's Day. I've been preparing for it since last year, really. And I'm going to be hosting a free live workshop called Matters of the Heart. And Matters of the Heart is really dealing with Black women and heartbreak and all those things, and how we struggle, to really take care of our heart, and we love hard. So today I am talking about that small voice and trusting the small voice, because the small voice is a really big deal. Whenever I think about the small voice, I think about how people get caught up when it comes to like relationships. Okay, hold on. Yeah, people get caught up with when it comes to relationships, and they'll say things like, oh, I never knew he or she was like this. I never knew blah 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 blah. And it's like, no, your small voice has said certain things to you and you have ignored it. There were always signs. There were always signs. People can only shy away from showing you themselves for so long. There are always things. If you are able to observe, if you're able to discern, if you are able to listen to yourself, then that means that your small voice has already told you. And that's the thing about the small voice. How many times have you known exactly what you were supposed to do and still made excuses for people around you, made excuses for people in your life? You said things like, you know, okay, don't be so hard, don't be so mean, give them another chance. Everybody makes mistakes. You literally talked yourself out of setting boundaries, talked yourself out of holding firm to something that you stand for. You have talked yourself out of standing on business. And that is the process of ignoring your intuition. Your small voice ultimately is your intuition. Your small voice is your God voice. Your small voice is the one that has your highest self in mind at all times. And yet, sometimes it's the hardest one to listen to. I don't know if you all remember those cartoons. Remember when we used to watch cartoons? If you're of a certain age, then I'm not speaking about anime. I am speaking about old school Looney Tunes cartoons, like old school cartoons. And remember when we used to watch those cartoons, there would always be like the devil on one side and the angel on the other side, right? And when it comes to small voice, your angel is your small voice. That is the voice of purity, divinity, intuition, insight. It's all the things. And y'all just give me 1 second because I cannot see myself properly for some strange reason. And I want to make sure that you guys are seeing me. Yeah, so that angel voice is the voice of reason. That angel voice is the voice that will bring you forward. The voice that will tell you the truth. And it may not be a truth that you want to hear. And that's always the problem. It may not be something that you actually want to hear. You might want to give a person the benefit of the doubt. You might want to think, no, that person wouldn't do me like that. There may be a lot of things that you want to think. Reality is what the reality is. And that small voice is going to put you on game. Small voice is always going to take care of you. Small voice is always going to look out for you. So I want you to be in awareness that every single time you hear something, and that something, it could sound mean, and let's get over it, right? It could sound like I ain't trying to do all that. Like they asking for too much. That could sound very mean, but you need to acculturate to that voice and acknowledge that that voice too is still valid. You may be exhausted, and that voice is trying to protect you by saying, I ain't trying to do all that. All right. Or, if you're asserting yourself in a particular way and that voice wants to say, you think you all that, or who do you think you are? Again, that's a different kind of voice, right? Or what is somebody else going to think? That's a different kind of voice. That voice of divinity is always going to put you back on the right path. And so this is why I'm talking about this today. This small voice, that this small voice has been correct your entire life. It's when you say to yourself, I knew I should have listened to myself. When you were supposed to do something, you didn't do it. You didn't listen to your small voice. And now you done got fucked up because you didn't listen to your small voice. Give thanks and praise. You ignored yourself. You ignored your intuition. You ignored the divinity that's coming from within you. And I understand why you do it. I get it. I get that there have been times where you've listened to your voice and you feel like, okay, I've listened to the voice and it got me in trouble and I don't trust it. Okay. I want to tell you again, don't forget that there are two voices. There's the voice of your ego, and then there's the voice of the intuition and your divinity. So when you say, oh, I'll listen to, and you don't trust yourself, that's no place to be. If you don't trust you, who's supposed to trust you, baby? Who's supposed to trust you? Who's supposed to do it? So this is a wake-up call for you to stop ignoring your small voice, because your small voice knows. Your small voice is your wisdom. Your small voice is your protection. Your small voice could even be your ancestral voice, the voice of many women coming forward to remind you, danger, be careful. Don't do that. You've been down this road before. You know where this is going. We're not going back there. We're not doing this again. Small voice. Okay? I don't want this. I'm exhausted. Somebody asked you for help. You want to say no, your small voice is telling you, girl, don't even do it. You know you too tired, but you over here on the ego, the feminine ego, I want to help. I need to be needed. I need to this. I need to that. All of that is bogusness. All of that is bogusness because it is setting you up for perpetual failure when your small voice has already told you this doesn't feel right. I can't keep doing this. Something got to change. And the reality is that you've been trained your entire life to listen to other people more than you've been trained to listen to yourself. You've been trained to listen to other people more than you've been trained to listen to yourself. There's always people in our ear as we're growing up who are trying to um, train us in a particular way, raise us in a particular way, grow us in a particular way, make sure we're on the right path. Sorry, people are asking me for the link. Let me just take a moment. And if that's been you in the past, you can always drop a comment and say, yeah, absolutely, that's me. I have been influenced by people in the past. Give me 1 second, you all. I have been influenced by people in the past. I have gotten more things from others, more guidance from others. And that guidance has influenced the way that I handle myself. It's not so challenging to understand why we keep ignoring our small voice when we understand the way the world is structured. We grow up in societies, we grow up in families, and our families ultimately want to keep us safe. Our families ultimately want what's best for us. Our families ultimately want to make sure that we can thrive. And with all of their desires for our life, the reality is that sometimes they do give us bad advice. They do encourage us in ways that don't help us, that actually hurt us. And so this is something for you to consider and something for you to think about when you are thinking about why haven't I listened to my small voice over the years? Sorry. Why haven't I listened to my small voice over the years? Why haven't I been in a perpetual state of protection over the years? Why haven't I stuck to what I feel? Why haven't I listened to my intuition over the years? It's because you have been influenced by outside parties, which is normal. From the time you were younger, from the time you were small, there have been people influencing your mind and telling you which way to go. You go right. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. And these people are not doing this to hurt us. A lot of the times, when we get older, we're like, oh, this person was just a hater. They weren't a hater. They were trying to help you stay safe. Maybe they tried something and it didn't work. Maybe they got set up for failure and learned from that failure and then tried to extend influence over you because of their own shortcomings, because of the things that have happened in their own lives. So this is not a personal attack or a personal affront, but the reality is that has led to you not listening to yourself. It's led to you having a perpetual state of distrust or reducing the amount of attention that you give your small voice because you've been trained not to hear yourself. It's taken years for you to get to the point where you're like, okay, give thanks and praise. Now I can hear myself. Now I can hear my voice. Now I can hear my intuition. I'm not the same. I'm not the way I used to be. So when it comes to your small voice, I want you to understand that it takes reframe in the relationship over and over and over and over again for you to strengthen this voice, for you to strengthen it so that it stops being your small voice. It stops getting drowned out and it actually starts getting louder and louder and louder. One of the biggest things that drown out the small voice is obligation. Obligation has drowned out small voices for years. Oh, I feel bad because I didn't help and I want to help and I want to do this for this person. I want to do that for that person. Obligation drowns our small voice out very, very quickly. The other thing that drowns out our small voice is guilt. 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 Just like when you're doing something for your child, you spoiling that child and you doing it because you feel guilty. You don't want to tell your baby no. You love your baby so much. You don't want to tell that baby no. You feel guilty. So even though your small voice is saying, don't do it, what's coming up is guilt, and guilt is overriding that small voice. It's just a reality. All of us as Black women, all of us have been performing strength for so long that we forget it is still a performance. We have been performing resilience. We have nailed certain things. We have bullseyed certain things to the extent that we have not functioned outside of those things that we have nailed. It is what it is. So I'm curious, is that you? Can you relate to that? Can you co-sign on anything that we're talking about? And while you're relating or not relating, I'm just going to bring up, my dilemma with my own small voice. So many of you already know that I have been living in Africa for 6 years now, and I have lived in Tanzania for 4 years. And with me living in Tanzania, I came here 4 years ago because of my son. I wanted my son to get out of Lithonia, Georgia. I was not interested in him being a Lithonia man. I was like, this is not happening. My son is not about to, this ain't it. This is not what's happening. Actually, y'all, let me just open these drapes and let some more light in here. Give me 1 second. Okay. I just need to let some more light up in here. Okay. I hope y'all can see me good. I feel like, all right, can y'all see me okay? Greetings. All right, and I am going to also drop the link for us in the chat so that you all can register for this Valentine's event. I'm going to make sure I do that right here in the chat. So if you're listening and you want to join the chat or join the Valentine's Day event, which is live, then definitely go ahead and sign up there. So at any rate, many of you know that I have been in Tanzania for 4 years. Not sure if you know that it's because of my son. I did not want him becoming a Lithonia man. I grew up in Lithonia, Decatur, Georgia, and I said, absolutely not. We're not about to do this. He's not about to become a Lithonia man. And brought him here. I brought him here, and it was not easy. He resisted a lot. He didn't want to be here, which is understandable because what boy coming from Atlanta, Georgia, wants to move to Africa? That's not what anybody wants to do coming from Atlanta. Nobody's like, oh, turn up for the move to Africa at 14 years old. No. So he was very resistant to the whole idea of coming, and really fought me tooth and nail, but I was very insistent. Why was I insistent? Because my small voice was like, get him up out of there. And my small voice had gotten loud. I had spent 2 years in Africa already. My small voice was loud. It was yelling, get him up out of there. But even after I had brought him and we were living here, it's like there were so many other his feelings, his anger, his resentment, his resistance that were really infringing on my intuition and caused me to doubt myself. It really caused me to say, like, is this the right choice? Is this something that I should be doing? Like, this is his teenage years. He won't get a chance to go to homecoming. Like, there's so many things that American high school offers that high school in Africa did not. And it was a lot for me to digest the fact that he won't have those experiences, much less him digesting that fact. So there was a lot of just trepidation and concern and really worry about how it would affect him. But I will tell you this, I will tell you this, I will tell you this. Sometimes you just have to hold on to that small voice for a period of time until you can see the fruits of your labor. We ignore that small voice and we don't even give it a chance. But if you are willing to listen to the small voice, give it a chance long enough for it to show you the demonstration of what it has to offer you, then you can start to trust it a lot more. And what happened was, after some time, I began to see a change because it got really crazy at first. I was like, I don't know, maybe I should send him back. But after some time, I started to see a change and I was like, okay. And that made everything worth it. That made everything worth it. That made everything worth it. And what I realized was that other voice was a voice of guilt. That was the voice of influence from his father, who really didn't want him to leave Atlanta in the first place. But none of those things were able to topple over my voice, my small voice, my intuition. I don't play about my intuition. And one of the things that I always tell my clients when they work with me is, by the time somebody comes to work with me, their ancestral sent. And I don't gatekeep and I don't withhold information because I don't need their ancestors coming to talk to me in the middle of the night while I'm trying to sleep. I don't need no problems. Okay. So those voices that you hear, yeah, listen to the divine voice. Listen to that small voice. Okay. So the moment that I acknowledged that that small voice was right the entire time, that is when it became like really clear to me that in everything, we really have to listen. We really have to tap in, because at that time it was like, okay, well, I don't have to pretend that I know what to do. Like, clearly I know what I was supposed to do. I've been new back then, and I'm the type of person who, um, I'm not easily swayed by outside opinion. But when it comes to my kids, I'm really swayed by my children's happiness. Like, I want my kids to be happy. I want them to be fulfilled. I want them to live a good life. So, yeah, my small voice was the biggest guiding light that I had. And the reality is that I'm not special. Like, I wasn't built like this. I wasn't built listening to my intuition. I had the same oppressive factors, the same systems, the same, mantras, or what do they call mottos and stuff. I had those same things impressed on me. I was literally weeding out some of the thoughts that I had been thinking about business. Like, if I just keep trying, it'll all work out. That's not business. That's something that they be shoving down your throat, and it don't work like that. So it's like I have been influenced and affected by a lot of these outside factors as well. But I just got tired of ignoring the truth. Like, There have been times in my life where I'm like, I already know what this is and what this isn't. And I would pretend in that moment that I didn't know. I would try to pretend like I could unsee. But once you see the truth, you can't unsee the truth. Let's just keep it a buck. Okay. I'm not going to ignore the truth. I'm not going to try to unsee. And that's what you're doing right now, trying to unsee things. We love to say benefit of the doubt. Why should you be given benefits? Why should the doubt have benefits? Did the doubt earn anything from you? It's just like listen to how they train your mind. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. You have ignored your intuition. Why? Because you've been conditioned not to trust yourself. That's a big thing. When you feel something in your spirit, they've told you like, oh, you just being petty, you just, y'all just doing this and doing that. Like there have been times where I've said to people, I don't like that person. And they're like, oh, y'all women just petty. And that put me in a position to rethink like, should I not like them? Like I knew, I know what I feel. I know I know what rings true, but we get conditioned to distrust ourselves. Black women are taught that our intuition is dangerous. We get taught that our desires are selfish, that wanting more is ungrateful. When you be like, I want to be a millionaire, they be like, you should be grateful for what you have. What? So I too can't I can't strive to make millions, right? So that's a big reason that you don't listen to the small voice. Another reason that you don't listen to that you listen to the big voice over the small voice is because the big voice sounds like everybody you know and every your whole society, your whole community, everybody you grew up with. It sounds like your grandma who told you, well, the best way to keep a man is X, Y, and Z, or your auntie, your mama or your best friend. It sounds like everybody around you. That big voice is big, and it gets repeated, it gets played on repeat amongst the community that we're from, amongst our family members. And then we learn to ignore the small one, focus on the big one. Okay. And a lot of times, another reason is you think that if you listen to the small voice, then everything is going to crumble, everything is going to collapse. Like, it's too big of a risk. If I do this, something that goes against the grain, it's going to risk everything else that I got going on. That the people who you love, is going to mess up relationships with them, or you'll lose somebody. And sometimes you do lose somebody because your small voice is telling you, let these people go. This person is not here in your best interest. And then, like, it gets to a point, you guys. At a certain point, you get tired. You get tired of keeping people on the roster who are actually not on the team. Clock it. All right. So you can know that the small voice is right. You can know, like, with every fiber of your being, this voice is right, and still not trust it because you've been conditioned not to trust your own self. You have been conditioned. So this is why a lot of this is a daily practice on dealing with things that right now your mind is telling you, no, I can't, or limited, or whatever. Even me, I'm a life coach. I'm a spiritual life coach. I've been life coach for 15 years. And there is one thing right now that I have been looking at and saying, okay, I have to work on listening to my small voice. My small voice is so small on this particular subject, I can't even hear it. And that's how badly my mind has been conditioned. So I will tell you all, I've been an entrepreneur for 15 plus years. My very first business was Camp Butterfly Bella, which is an all girls enrichment program. And it was in Decatur, Georgia. And it was a wonderful program. But that's the first time I was an entrepreneur. And I think I started that when I was maybe like 25. I was really young when I went into business. So after being in entrepreneurship for so long, it makes me a little scared to think about applying for any work position. And many of you know as well that I'm on the road to PhD and getting my PhD in African feminism, getting a master's in women's spirituality, gender studies, and social justice. So I have all these new things blossoming in my life. And yet I am terrified of submitting for positions as a professor, submitting for positions as an associate professor. I'm terrified of that because I haven't applied for anybody's job in 15 years. So now I don't even have a small voice because I've just, the only big voice is, you can't do, nobody wants an entrepreneur. Like, it's going to be hard. You don't know how this stuff works. What is an ATS system? There's so many questions that I have about this, and it's scary for me. It's scary for me. Right? But I have to pull it up in front of my face and look at it so I can work on it. I have to pull it up so I can take time to daily speak to that fear, speak to the voice inside of me that knows it's possible. I know it's possible. I just don't know how to do it. So I have to reassure myself. So at any rate, here's what I want you to hear. The small voice that you have that knows, it's been right your entire life. You already know this, you've just been taught to ignore it. And today was just a reminder, that you have to do more to listen to that small voice, because just hearing it isn't enough. Just recognizing that it exists isn't enough. You have to make it louder. You have to figure out how to develop a relationship with it so that you could make it louder. And that's what we're doing on February the 14th. February the 14th at 10:30 a.m. I'm hosting a free event, free discussion, free live event. It's called Matters of the Heart. And we're talking about Black women and heartbreak on repetition, heartbreak in romance, friendships, family dynamics with ourselves. We're just talking about heartbreak, and while we keep choosing these people in these situations, how heartbreak affects your nervous system. Whew, okay. How you can stop choosing from the trash bin, stop choosing, yeah, from that pile, and start choosing differently. So we also want to talk about daily recalibration, because that's the most important part, not just starting the process, but continuing the process on a day to day to day to day to day to day basis. So I am going to redirect you to the link. There is a link, and that is a Zoom link, and you can click that link and go ahead and register for February 14th live. It's going to be on Zoom, so make sure you have the Zoom app downloaded, and send this to a friend. Send this to a friend. I'm like over it when it comes to you all showing up by yourself to get the goodness, to get the manna, to get the free bread. You cannot call yourself a sister friend if you are not sharing this information with a sister friend. Okay, so go ahead and share this. Go ahead and like this so that way you can come back to it. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer your questions. But if not, I will see you in the next live. All right, take care. Peace.